Kate, imagine you wake up one day and there's another Kate Cook that it's giving advice. It's mediocre advice and someone else is charging for it. But it says this is advice by Kate Cook. How would you feel about it?
That sounds like a nightmare. Is that happening right now?
Actually, now that you're asking, $1 billion company turned real people into digital slop avatars of themselves without asking, without paying, and without telling them. And this company is Grammarly that are finding themselves in hot water because of this feature they launched called Expert Review that basically lets experts get written feedback from AI bots that are pretending to be famous, living, or dead people, because even Carl Sagan is giving you advice. So again, they didn't ask, they didn't pay. People did not even know they were giving this advice, or the AI sloppengangers were giving advice.
Okay, wait, stop. What did you just say? Sloppelgangers? Is that a new term?
Yes, it's a new term. It's slop is your doppelganger, but it's like a dumb version of yourself. So it's sloppenganger.
Okay, all right. I'm writing that one down in my little book. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so now Grammarly is facing a class action lawsuit. And here comes the full disclosure moment. Until last week, I was actually an ambassador for the Grammarly brand and I quit. So I'm not involved with them, but in the past I've had a prior involvement with them. I've gotten Grammarly for free and got to test features, not this one, before they were released.
Wait, but so I know you've talked about Grammarly before and like how important it is as a product for like especially people who like English is their second language and helping with writing.
Imagine 10 years ago, my command of the English language wasn't that great. I wasn't that confident. So this was a tool that will help me write an email when I was mistaken about grammar. It would actually point out what's a mistake. So it actually helped me learn. I became a better speaker through the app. That was from 10 years, 15 years ago, back when software used to solve real problems. But that's what I signed up for, right? A tool that empowered people like me to express ourselves without these roadblocks. I didn't sign up for people getting illegally cloned, or at least their virtual avatar, and being monetized again.
So take me through a little bit about like the details of what happened here. What is this new feature that they launched?
All right, so the controversy basically is around Grammarly, or Superhuman, which is the new name, right? They launched this feature last year called Expert Review, which for $12 a month, you could get these AI bots cosplaying as real experts, right? The list of names of these experts that were used for inspiration were Stephen King, Kara Swisher, then we got Neil deGrasse Tyson, the late Carl Sagan, as well as hundreds of journalists from the New York Times, The Verge, Wired, like even academics who were not famous were included. So now they're getting sued.
So I did a little digging into who the lead plaintiff is, Julia Angwin. She's this investigative journalist. She won a Pulitzer Prize when she was at the Wall Street Journal for uncovering this huge corruption scandal in like cable. And it really makes sense that she is the first name on this list of, plaintiffs, because she's been working on uncovering corruption her entire career. This makes sense that it's coming from her.
The story obviously has to have a villain. Not Grammarly itself, but a real actual human villain, which in this case is Superhuman CEO Shishir Mehrotra, which issued this high-profile apology, the typical Notes app apology. In basically, we are sorry, we got caught, we'll try to do better, we got excited. But did he really apologize? And if you stay watching, just in a few minutes, you're going to find out why this apology might not be as earnest as you would think.
But really, did he need to apologize? Because it sounds like it's a great idea, right? I could picture being in the room when this idea was conceived, like, let's get all of these wonderful expert voices in the room, but then they kind of threw it away by doing it wrong. Is he apologizing for the idea, or is he apologizing for the way they executed the idea? Because they executed it wrong.
Exactly, yeah. And you're right. They are actually apologizing not for the idea itself, but how they executed and a few of the things they did after, because obviously, there's always the adding insult to injury. And any big tech company, Grammarly just couldn't help themselves by doing that. But I'm curious, why do you think this is actually a great idea?
In the perfect execution, this would be fantastic. if they reached out and informed the people that they were going to be using their, voices or their expertise, and then they really got it right, and it actually was valuable advice, and then they were upselling it for a fee, like that's a great growth strategy for a company, but you have to do it correctly. Take me through how they did not do it right in this case.
Yeah, and the keyword of what you just said is consent. And as it turns out, there was none, right? There was no consent and no notification, right? First of all, like we were saying in the beginning, experts woke up one day to find out their names were included in an app and were dishing out advice. Not only that, but this advice was terrible advice. Angwin, for example, tested her own AI twin, and she said it felt robotic, it hallucinated, it was basically actively damaging to her reputation. And this is where I'm going to ask everyone watching right now to let us know in the comments, of course, how would you feel, right? Like, for example, if I woke up and found a fake Juan Faisal giving advice that goes against my moral, my ethics, or even is monetizing my knowledge without me getting a cut because I consented to that, I'd
Yeah.
be livid. I was
Yeah.
livid about this, and I wasn't even like part of the people getting robbed. So
Yeah. Yeah. Robbed is a good word. Okay. And then also, it's more than just taking and using people's name and career and, quote unquote voice, but it's also doing it in a way that minimizes their work because they're not giving good advice. They're not being their wise, experienced selves within the platform. And so it's making them look bad too. It's almost slanderous at the same time.
Yep, Cassie Newton actually said he was supremely annoyed to find his own AI slappenganger giving bad advice that he never wrote. Now, when you ask, for forgiveness, or at least that's what I learned in therapy, right? You say, hey, this is where I mess up. This is the action I'm going to take to make things better. I mean, that's my understanding of how an apology works, right? What was Grammarly's apology?
In response to the lawsuit, Mehrotra told BBC, "We announced that expert review is being taken down for a redesign before the claim was filed, and in its short lifespan, it had very little usage. We are sorry, and we will rethink our approach going forward." Despite this, he said that the legal claims were without merit, and Superhuman will strongly defend against them.
So, a sorry we got caught apology. Basically, he did not mean it.
Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
But not only that, but then, because it can always get worse with these people, what was their fix? You can email us to be removed, right? So something I never joined, now I need to do the effort to request that they remove me because apparently the opt-in is extinct. Now we all need to be figuring out who could be stealing my likeness or my work so I can let them know that is bad. But like you say, this feature got killed on March 13, and now the $5 million lawsuit, class action lawsuit that they will have to face, it's still very much going on. Now, here's my problem, right? And kind of goes back to why I decided to quit my relationship with the brand. It's that this is not just about Grammarly, right? We're living in an era where big tech feels totally entitled to our data, right? Mark Zuckerberg said that books on their own have no value, unless they're part of an LLM. The angels at Anthropic bought used books, so they're not even paying, making sure the authors get a little authorship money. And then they just can them. So again, big tech feels like everything that is out there, it's for the taking. So just this week, right, as we're going through this with Grammarly, Sam Altman, because again, there is always a Sam Altman phrase, said that the way he envisions AI is as an utility, right, where we all buy intelligence on a meter, on top. So they get your work, they get your voice, they get your name, and then they become your landlord and sell it back to you on tap token. So if you hated not being able to own stuff and having to pay for it monthly, you're going to miss it because we're going into an economy where we basically get robbed and then we get our allowance of tokens so we can get some of it, some scraps back from our tech overloads. So again, not my thing.
Yeah, well, it's a very dystopian view of the world. And I think that when people say, people like Sam say we're going to sell back intelligence to you on a meter, it's very distasteful. But I think we can't look at this Grammarly situation in a vacuum. We have to look at it in the broader context of like where we are with AI today. And here's why. Grammarly had a great business until 2023. When the foundation models came out, when ChatGPT hit the scene, and then Google put out Gemini, and everybody was rolling these things out, they lost their moat, right? They no longer had a product that was valuable because what you got from it, you could get anywhere else for $20 a month. And so it makes sense why they are trying to work on innovating their offering for people. But if you're going to innovate your offering for people, you have to do it in the right way without stealing people's IP, without using people that you haven't compensated, and also by, having a good product that doesn't give you bad advice. So, it sort of feels like a little desperate. And Casey Newton, who was one of the people whose voice was stolen, he wrote about that too in Platformer. It feels desperate. And I think that's also part of why it's such a good story to talk about, because it really does signal a change that's coming for a lot of SaaS companies who are just sort of losing their corner of the market because the foundation models are so freaking good at everything.
Like you said, this is happening on a lot of apps, right? That they're sort of like missing their original North Star, and there's kind of like
Yeah.
this race for adding a lot of AI features that many times, or most of the times, no one asks for, no one needs, and they get in the way of actually doing what you need to do. Copilot, I'm looking at you, right? So I think this speaks of a tech oligarch entitlement, right? I get it. They have a responsibility to shareholders. They want to keep their
Mhm.
employees employed, I'm sure. But consent should not be an opt-out, right? Like the idea that us as knowledge professionals should have to be scavenging for who's stealing our IP to
Yeah.
ask, pretty please, will you not rob me? That seems pretty predatory, especially when you have way more resources, to fight it in court versus someone like you and me that honestly would not stand a chance against these companies unless there were a lot of other people. It's something that I feel many apps will encounter. I don't think Grammarly is the last app that it's
No.
gonna fuck up as
Yeah.
they did, right? My trust in Grammarly right now is dead, right? They can't be respected to trust the most
Mhm.
famous writers in the world, journalists, people who have the resources to fight back. Now, what trust can I have in an app that is going to access my documents, not to train on them, not to steal my ideas? Should I trust it when I'm working with a client? Hell no, I should not, because nothing is telling me that this app is not going to be stealing my work even before it's public facing. And for an app that you're supposed to bring into your work, and that's basically what makes it work, I think they really shoot themselves on the foot with this one.
Yeah, I think they did too. Well, I'm glad we were able to talk about it. I think I'd love to see some of the comments. How would folks feel if their IP was stolen and put inside of a product without their knowledge? Because it's a really robust conversation. I'm sure we'll have plenty more examples to talk about in the future.
And speaking of plenty more examples, we don't really have to go into the future because we have this amazing episode that showcases what happens when a school gets rid of the teacher and goes full on AI. It ends up exactly as you expect. So we got this episode on Alpha School, and I encourage everyone to watch it if you want to keep on seeing how big tech seems to have lost the plot.